with clickondetroit.com. I'm Jason Carr, and let's talk a little political ad action and social media, specifically starting with Facebook. In September of this year, Facebook clarified that speech from politicians is officially exempt from the platform's fact-checking and decency standards. Social media sites' policy has been characterized as giving politicians free rein over the content they post, and Facebook has said it would not restrict politicians from posting false statements, hate speech, or misleading content. So earlier this month, the Donald Trump presidential re-election campaign released an ad accusing former Vice President Joe Biden of offering Ukraine $1 billion in aid in the country if the country pushed out a prosecutor investigating a company tied to Biden's son. The ad stated Joe Biden promised Ukraine $1 billion if they fired the prosecutor investigating his son's company, but when President Trump asked Ukraine to investigate corruption, the Democrats want to impeach him. CNN immediately refused to air the ad, saying it made false accusations. Facebook aired the ad and refused the request from the Biden campaign to take it down, saying it did not violate company policies. So the ad so far has been viewed millions of times, and it would not be a far leap to presume that the people who have viewed it believe it. Elizabeth Warren's campaign this month bought a political ad on the social media site that purposefully included false claims about Zuckerberg, the Facebook CEO, to goad the company to remove misinformation. The ad stated that Facebook and Zuckerberg had officially backed the re-election of Trump. Neither Zuckerberg nor the company had announced any support of any candidate. Warren states in the ad, "You're probably shocked and you might be thinking, how could this possibly be true?" Well, it's not. Despite all this, Zuckerberg, speaking at Georgetown just a few weeks ago, doubled down on the company's stance. Quote, "I believe that when it's not absolutely clear what to do, we should err on the side of greater expression," end quote. He then went on to add that from a business perspective, the controversy is, quote, "not worth the very small part of business that they make up," end quote. Meanwhile, over at Twitter, a decidedly different take, tone, outcome. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey announced the week of Halloween that his platform would no longer take political ads, a stark contrast to Facebook's policy. Dorsey explained his stance in a lengthy tweet, but of course, he explained that by paying for ads, politicians can force highly optimized and targeted messages onto people. Quote unquote, "Internet political ads present entirely new challenges to civic discourse. Machine learning-based optimization of messaging and micro-targeting, unchecked misleading information, and deep fakes." Deep fakes is a particularly worrisome development. The computer imagery, the digital imaging is getting so good, the animation's so good, that a computer and a savvy user of that computer can create something that looks like somebody has killed somebody on camera or done porn. And you think, am I seeing this with my own eyes? Is that the president doing X, Y, or Z? And it's only going to get better and better and better, where the battle for reality will be the new frontier, because people won't believe their own eyes. They won't be able to tell whether it's real or it's Memorex.
That's right. I mean, and people, if they see something on social media, a lot of people are going to believe it. They're not going to take the time to question it because they're just scrolling.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm less than 1 year shy of turning 50. I was born in the analog era, and I remember it. I remember rotary telephones. I remember not having to use the area code. And yet, I remember TV and radio, the old days. I remember my grandparents' old-style turntable phonographs. And yet, I'm savvy on the internet and social media. I have one foot in each era. And I can spot fake content, sponsored content that is pushing an agenda, but somebody who's just 15 to 20 years older than me is going to struggle in many cases to spot that distinction. I know somebody who looks at something online and cannot tell the difference between propaganda and something a responsible organization like New York Times or Washington Post is putting out there.
Well, one example, somewhat infamous example, was earlier this year that video of Nancy Pelosi, where it wasn't even, it was just slowed down to make it appear
That she was slurring.
She was intoxicated, perhaps. Yeah.
But the video had been manipulated and was therefore not real, or real in that context. And there are people to this day that think that that is a real video. So this is going to be a problem going forward, negotiating what's real from what's fake. So we've covered Facebook, we've covered Twitter. Hillary Clinton said, quote, "This is the right thing to do for democracy in America and all over the world." Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, "This is a good call. Technology and social media especially has a powerful responsibility in preserving the integrity of our elections." Meanwhile, in response to those two praising Twitter's decision, Trump's campaign manager for 2020, Brad Parscale, in an official statement called Dorsey's announcement a very dumb decision and said it was an attempt to silence conservatives. So the policy at Twitter, as explained by Dorsey, would apply to all politicians, not just conservatives. Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas, you know him, criticized the call in an op-ed published in The Hill, titled "Mark Zuckerberg is right, Jack Dorsey is wrong." Cruz said that Twitter's policy will only stand to benefit incumbent politicians and the mainstream media. Quote, "Incumbent politicians have tons of money and a huge megaphone to spread their message. If you ban political advertising from social media, how on earth is any upstart challenger supposed to beat an incumbent?" End quote. Cruz continued, quote, "If you think a lot of media are really, really biased, then censoring citizens and candidates and giving the media a monopoly is a terrible idea." End quote. Well, what do you think? Well, that's why they have something called the comments section. We invite you to leave your thoughts there, and we will see you on a future edition of this program.